Competitive losses might be the best thing for the Raptors going forward, and that's exactly what we got today. Lots of great individual performances, but the blemishes of this roster continue to shine through, and they shine through once again as we lost away at Phoenix. Let's break it all down for you in tonight's post-game show. Okay, everybody, we're back for the post-game show today as the Raptors took on the Phoenix Suns. If you enjoy what you see from today's content, please make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to Amateur Hour for more content like this for every single Raptors game. This one ends 114-106. It's just not a surprising scoreline for the Raptors here. They fought hard. They fought valiantly. They're a team that is clearly good enough to compete, but not good enough to win games consistently. And that is probably like the worst spot you could be in for an NBA season. But we have recognition that the trade deadline is a week and a half away at this point, and there are now 3 more games left on this West Coast road trip. And every executive in the league understands that that is when action is going to happen for the Raptors and what goes down for the rest of the season and what goes down with them as we get towards the trade deadline. There's going to be hot topics about who you should trade, what you should do with the players, of course, but in the meantime, there are games still happening. Let's address where things went right today, and more importantly, where they went wrong as the Raptors, of course, once again, do lose this game. People are going to lose their minds because Devin Booker didn't play. The reality is the Raptors were underdogs here. They were underdogs by a few points. They played away from home in a harsh environment. There were some great individual performances. You lose. It's like there's nothing really shocking about the performance. There's some frustrating parts, I agree, where you wish things went better and things went differently, but this isn't the worst thing in the world given the context of the season. And like I said, the competitive losses, they might be the best thing going forward where we want to have our outlook for the season. So we'll take it on the chin. Let's talk about what happened. So let's go with the great performances first of all. You had some great numbers from Achua, from VanVleet, and from Gary Trent. You had some really good numbers as well from Scotty Barnes in this one. But I want to open up with this one. Fred VanVleet is firmly back. He's been operating at pretty close to his all-star numbers for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So he's just been playing great basketball. And he's doing so much for this team. 24 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal and a block. Great stuff. You can hyperfixate on the 2 for 8 shooting from 3 or the 3 turnovers you want. The reality is he had a great game, and you can't really take that away from him unless you're cherry picking. Gary Trent was excellent as well. He had 21 points on 8 for 19 shooting. Fortunately, he shoots 3 for 10 from 3, but Gary Trent had a solid game all around. Achua was also excellent once again. A double-double from him, 11 points, 12 rebounds. And Barnes had a nice game as well. A great game, actually. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 for 14 from the field. Raptors were in this game all throughout. It really does fall apart late in the game. Unfortunately, Siakam just been a little bit of a slump by his standards recently. 19 points, 7 for 17 shooting isn't horrible, but the impact from a rebounding and assist standpoint does concern me a bit from this one. Only 3 rebounds, only 1 assist. You go to the bench, and the bench that's already thin lost an important player with Achua. I said it so many times during the stream. People like to complain, the starters getting all these minutes. How can you justify playing a bench of Thaddeus Young, Chris Boucher, Juancho Hernan Gomez in particular, Christian Koloko, and Malachi Flynn more? You genuinely can't justify giving these guys much more than they get. Koloko, it's tough because he only played 2 minutes, but Phoenix hunted him, and they would have continued to hunt him on offense. Phoenix on offense, us on defense. They would have continued to hunt him, and that would have been a problem. Flynn, I'll hand it to him. He came in. He got 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, and you know what? He made an impact. I'll give that to him. But he also had that stretch at the start of the month where he went 1 for 17 from 3. But this is enough probably to get more minutes in the next game. But as a whole, you can't justify, Boucher got 24 minutes. You can't justify this, much more minutes here. You can't justify much from here for minutes. And that's just the way it is. there's been a lot of discussions about Nick Nurse's future. People have asked me if Nick Nurse is in trouble. So Nick Nurse, if I'm not mistaken, has the rest of this season and then next season on his contract. It's difficult for me. In fact, it's impossible for me to say, based on the roster that we have, what Nick Nurse is working with the bench that I just alluded to. The fact that there's not enough shooters, the fact that there's no rim protector. It's hard for me. It's impossible for me to say this guy doesn't deserve another crack at it with his job because the roster sucks. I wouldn't extend him. He's got a year on his contract, but I would look to see if there's improvements next season with a better roster, hopefully in place. And if there's still reasons for concern, then you have a decision to make about his future when his contract is up. I think he's a great coach. I think he'll find a job easily if he doesn't stay with the Raptors. But maybe if the fit's not there, you decide. But you can't make the decision this season from my standpoint. We'll quickly go to what the Suns did. DeAndre Ayton dominated the inside all night. Raptors had really nothing to deal, couldn't deal with him. And Mikal Bridges won them in this game. 12 for 19 from the field, 29 points, 6 assists, 3 steals, 3 rebounds. He was excellent all night. Unfortunately, that's probably the guy that OG would have been defending. OG is out injured right now. But based on the rumors we're hearing, you might have to get used to the fact that OG is not guarding people. You got to do a little bit of a better job there. That being said, Mikal Bridges, some of the shots he was hitting were very impressive. Beyond the struggling bench, it's difficult to win a basketball game when you shoot 27% from three, especially in 2023. We shoot 45% from the field, but flat out, they perform better from a shooting standpoint. We barely out-rebound them. We didn't retain the ball very well. We turned the ball over 14 times. That cleaned up in the second half, yes, but overall, you're underdogs. You got to do some certain things to overcome that. The fact that you are underdogs. The Raptors didn't have that tonight. And it's another game as well for Toronto where it boils down to the big moments late. This was a game where, I commented during the live stream when there was about 4 minutes left in the game. I made a comment into the fact that we have lost so many games. I believe the Raptors are 1-7 in 3 games that are games that end by 3 points or less of a difference. The Raptors are 1-7, which would be worst in the NBA. You win half of those coin flip sort of games. Shout out to 95 Yada for providing that stat, by the way. You win half of those games. Let's say you go 4-3 in those games. Your record is now 27 and 26. That just straight up is you're 26 and 26. That's just the difference between a good team and a bad team. I always say the good teams find a way to win those games. And I agree with Tom M in chat here. Those are the games we consistently won last year. We would win those games. We'd have the clutch player. We'd have the guy making big shots. And I think a lot of the time this year we haven't had it. And I think a lot of that is individuals. I think a lot of that's coaching as well, where play calling hasn't been good lately. And that is a big knock against Nick Nurse, I will say. Today, I don't feel like that. Today I feel like... Today I felt definitely as if the offense was run pretty well late, but the way it ended, Bridges hit a tough step back too with good defense. And then next play he did the exact same thing. Good defense, not much you can do. Then the next play, Chris Paul hits somewhat deep 3 with a hand up. I think this one boils down to Phoenix hitting the big shots late, but we just don't have enough of those guys hitting the big shots late. That separates the game. And the game close throughout. Raptors down 9.5, but went on a 12-0 run to start the second half. It was close late. Phoenix had the big shots, and that is definitely the difference here. So it comes down to, what's your move at the deadline? Again, we don't know. Again, it comes down to as well what you can get for players. The notion that we need to trade Fred VanVleet, I don't agree with. I agree that I'd like to trade him. I agree that his fit long-term may not be the best for this team, especially with the money he's going to get. We saw Miles Turner just got $30 million a year. If you think Miles Turner's getting 30 and Fred isn't, I think there's going to be a rude awakening in the summer. Fred is undoubtedly worth $30 million a year to me. However, is he worth $30 million for the Raptors to have locked in long term? That's a question. And I would say at this point, I don't think so. I don't think he's worth that to us. I think he's worth it to somebody else. Dallas, Clippers, Pelicans, but maybe not to us. But I also, you don't want to lose him for nothing at the end of the season. I don't want to lose him for nothing in a trade. I got to get something back for him of significance. So I don't like the notion that you need to trade guys. I don't think anybody on this team needs to be traded. I think it's within our best interest to do that, but I don't think you just do it for the sake of it. Because losing him for nothing in the season is a disaster, but losing him for nothing at the trade deadline is also a little bit of a disaster. Again, listen, Miles Turner got 30, Fred's getting 30. If you like, you got to understand that. I like Fred's getting at least Fred's getting 28 minimum. That's just the way it is going to be with the player. OG is a guy I love OG. If he's unhappy and you can get 3 picks, I'm okay with that. It all depends on what you're going to get back for these players. Gary Trent, I want to keep him, but if you don't think you can extend him and you get a good offer, then that's something you can pursue. I got to say, I did enjoy watching a much more balanced starting 5, having Achua, not an actual big, but having a big as a center for the starting 5. I did like that. I did enjoy seeing that play out. And I think a benefit of a trade is that Achua starts for the rest of the season, which I am open to exploring. But those are the bigger themes. That's all I really got to say about that. From this game alone, we were competitive. We're good enough to be competitive always, but we're not good enough to win them consistently. And that's where you are in the season. Probably the worst spot to be. 3 more games in the West Coast road trip. Masai Ujiri, Bob Webster, confident they're going to take action. All right, guys, if you did enjoy what you saw here, please make sure you drop a thumbs up. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, and subscribe to Amateur Hour for content like this for every single Raptors game.